So STEAM, it's what it's all about in toys at the moment, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about why it's so important, why I think it's so important, and some of the work that we've been doing with the Toy Association for the STEAM Accreditation Program to give toy companies that framework against which to assess their products to ensure that they really are producing really great products for children to help them engage with the STEAM topics. So I'm Amanda Gummer, I'm the founder of Fundamentally Children and Dr. Gummer's Good Play Guide. I'm a research psychologist specialising in neuropsychology for the last 20 odd years, looking at how children play and develop. And in the last year and a half we've been working with the Toy Association to develop and now to run a STEAM accreditation framework and the resulting accreditation program for toys to make sure that we have a unified approach to what constitutes a STEAM product. STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts and maths, often abbreviated to STEM when you take out the arts. We're looking at products and activities that promote science and technology, the modern skills, maths and engineering. But the arts thing is really important, and with the framework, when we developed it, we added in a criteria for that arts bit, rather than it being arts being so generic, because is arts, arts and crafts, or is it narrative, is it performing arts? By the time you cover everything, very few products wouldn't qualify. So we wanted to make sure that the framework was useful, and the S, T, E and M bits of it, the science, the technology, the engineering and the maths, are the focus of a STEAM product. But the A bit is really important. So when we develop the framework, we put it into three parts. The first bit, and for me the most important, is that it's a fun, engaging product. Is it a good toy, first and foremost? Because it doesn't matter how educational, how beneficial it is to children. If you're not getting children to want to play with it, if they're not enjoying it, if they don't want to come back and get it out of the cupboard again, or if they're not moaning at their parents that they want 5 minutes more, whatever learning's in there is going to be limited, because it's going to be a teaching aid or it's going to be something that they do for homework, but it's not going to have that free play appeal. So first and foremost, a toy needs to be a good toy. That's your starting point. And before then we move on to the science, the technology, the engineering and the maths, I feel like it's really important that we put that A in. So it is arts, it is, is there some expression, self-expression, creativity, imagination? Where's that in the play pattern? But the A bit as well, the sort of the prime STEAM characteristics are about making a product that is right for 21st century children and 21st century life. So we are promoting skills that they're going to need throughout their lives, things like problem solving and logic. Is the product actively engaging? Is it passive, in which case it's not an active STEAM toy? But if it's engaging and if it requires children to participate and interact with it, that's really important too. And one of the big things for me is the real world relevance. Has it got an application in real world? Can the kids relate it to something that they're learning? You hear a lot from kids at school that they don't understand why they need to learn Pythagoras theorem or trigonometry or whatever it is, because they don't know when they're ever going to use it in real life. So for a STEAM toy to be a good STEAM toy, it has to have that real world relevance. Kids need to understand how they can apply the skills that they've learned through the play into their everyday life. It also has to have some progression, and this goes to a bigger picture around inclusivity. But the progression is so important, because children come in at one place and you need to be able to give them something that they're learning, that they're going somewhere. Products with really good progression built into the play patterns also by definition are more inclusive, because you end up with a wider age range, you end up with children coming in with different ability levels. You're able to meet them where they're at and take them up that developmental pathway, learning those new skills in a sensible, progressive way. Anybody who wants more information on my approach to this kind of learning should check out Vygotsky and his zone of proximal development. Really interesting stuff on how children learn and acquire skills and what we can do to support them and scaffold their learning so that they can learn quicker. But what we need to make sure we're doing is giving those skills incrementally in a sensible, universal pathway. I think it's really great that when I see a toy that has that free exploration, is our children able to just go, oh, I wonder what happens if I can try this? Let me have a look at it like this. Those kind of products, they're great as well. So that's the second bit of the framework that we've put in, that prime STEAM characteristic that brings in the A for the arts, but also brings in some, I think, really important features of what a good STEAM toy should be. Then we look at the different ages and stages of development, because obviously the science that a 2-year-old is learning is very different to to the science that a 6-year-old is learning versus a 10-year-old or even a teenager. So making sure that your products, when we're making products for children, that they're age appropriate, developmentally relevant, and meet children where they're at, like I said, and help them learn the skills that they are learning. So for example, a toy that is aimed at a 2 or 3-year-old, for the science side of things, you're looking at things like trial and error learning. Now that's your basic science, hypothesis testing. I wonder what happens if this happens. Let me try this. One of my favourites is what happens if I put the plug in and turn the taps on, and yes, the sink gets full and the bathroom floods, but also mum or dad or whoever gets cross and I'm probably not allowed to do that again. So there is some real world learning in there. So that just that exploration and wonder what happens, that's very much age appropriate for a 2, 3, 4-year-old when they're entering into that sort of scientific exploration and scientific topic. Things like for numbers, the same sort of age group, you're learning your numbers at 2. You don't expect to be able to do maths or multiplication, but you're correlating one unit with one number. You're learning the order of the numbers. You're using words such as bigger, smaller, more, less. Those kind of words are entering your vocabulary, and if you're using those accurately, that's basic maths. So those kind of toys that promote play pattern within that age group, great, really good. And then you go up, all the way through that kind of the pathway of learning. By the time you're at sort of 10, 12 plus, you're manipulating numbers. You're maybe manipulating complex numbers using division and multiplication and maybe some more abstract concepts with algebra and more manipulative procedures with the maths numbers. Again, 3D shapes, volume, weight, all of that kind of stuff all comes into the sort of more advanced maths that you would expect products that are aimed at the older children to be facilitating. When it comes to science and technology, using tech well to solve problems, maybe using tech and combining it with the science to test hypotheses using, some coding or some high-tech 3D printing, those kind of things. Being able to test specific hypotheses using, sensible methodology. All of that stuff comes by the time you're a teenager, but the stepping stones are there throughout childhood. So we don't expect children to get to 17 and be able to run an experiment when they get to university. We're expecting them to have learned those skills incrementally as they go through, and that's where play has such an important role to play. Because if we can get the kids engaged, loving that experimentation, that interest in how the world works, that curiosity and just wanting to learn and wanting to know more, we are going to be setting them up for a lifetime of learning and success. And you see how quickly kids pick up some of this stuff when they're engaged, and they come to you after playing with a construction set with something that they've made. You're like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. That's really cool. And they get the benefit of the confidence, they master skills. When they're engaged in stuff, it's so powerful. So helping children develop those skills all through their childhood and keeping that love of learning is something that I think we should all be really proud of being a part of when we're making good STEAM toys for children. We've tested over 50 toys now for the STEAM Accreditation Program since we launched at the back end of last year, and it's been great to see how children have actually engaged with the products and how well received the reports have been. So it's such an exciting initiative for us to be involved with. And just to give you a flavour of some of the products that we have reviewed and that have passed the STEAM accreditation, here are some of the products that we've looked at. Things like the butterfly garden, where you're looking at the life cycle of butterflies, obviously through the caterpillar and the larvae, but you're also counting them, you're also understanding what they eat, all of that kind of stuff. It's really great to see children's fascination and curiosity being piqued by such a lovely product. Construction toys like this are really good for children's fine motor skills and their confidence building, but they're teaching children about order, patterns, physics around, balancing towers, magnets, things that children really understand through play and can give them a real insight and a springboard into which to develop that sort of those scientific understanding and their learning. Science kits specifically are obviously focused on science, but they have the volume and the weights and the measures and the counting. Those kind of things really help bring in that maths element, and all products that have got the STEAM accreditation have got more than one element of the science, the technology, the engineering and the maths, because otherwise it can be a really great maths toy, a really great science toy, but if it doesn't have anything else in it, it's just a maths or a science toy. To get that valued STEAM accreditation, they have to have more than one of those things, as well as the prime STEAM attributes, the real world relevance and logical problem solving and that expression and creativity. So there is a lot more to the STEAM accreditation than just going, oh, I've got a science toy, let's get that logo. So I think it's really important that toys like these are taking the time and effort to make sure that children's whole experience of the toy is so good for them. It's so engaging, it's fun, it's relevant, it's developmentally progressive and as inclusive as it can be. So I want to say a massive congratulations to everybody who has already passed the STEAM accreditation. Those of you who are going through the process at the moment, I'm hoping you're finding it useful and valuable. The reports that we give back, if you don't pass, the report that you get back is very informative and you're able to resubmit the product if you make some changes to the design. So we're about levelling up, and we're about giving toy companies the tools and the resources they need to really give children the best products that they can get. So if you are interested in finding out a bit more about the STEAM Accreditation Program, please do visit goodplayguidehq.com/STEAM-program. On there you can also find a link to the Toy Association's framework, and you can use that. We're getting lots of really nice feedback to say that that's really helpful in product development processes, so that you can use it as an internal checklist before even submitting the product for the accreditation program. But you can use it to make sure that you are ticking all the boxes that you should be ticking in your PD processes. So do use it, do find out a bit more about it. And we do have a promotion on this spring, so if you want to find out a bit more about that, if you're interested in submitting a product to get involved in what we're doing in the summer, then do have a look at the website and get your product in before the end of March. I've really enjoyed talking to you about this, and if you have any questions, I would always love to hear from you. Thanks very much.